Hey guys, welcome here to a Photoshop tutorial. I really wanted to bring you guys an After Effects tutorial, and I updated to 2017 and then updated Cinema 4D, which you need for the After Effects tutorial I was going to do, and now I'm getting an error when I'm trying to open it up. So I'm working on trying to get that resolved. But in the meantime, I thought I'd bring you another part of the Photoshop 3D tutorial series. I'm just going to make 3 videos, maybe 4, on how to use 3D in Photoshop without any After Effects. So I've got this lighthouse image imported in here, and what we're going to do is we're going to add just one text layer, and then we're going to make it 3D, and I'm going to show you how to position it in the screen and make it look good. And then I've got another file that I'm going to show you that's already rendered, because you do have to render 3D layers inside Photoshop. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to do is I'll zoom in a little bit here, and I'm going to add a text layer, and we're going to call it lighthouse. Okay, and then we're going to just position it here in the screen, and when we get it where we want it to be, we're going to resize it, and I'm going to take it down just a little bit. And what I'm trying to do is show you the 3D effect with it above this, so we're not just going here on the water, but kind of up here a little bit. All right, so now that we've got this, if you want to make any changes to this, you're going to want to do that before you make it 3D. So if you want to add a gradient or anything like that to the text, you can do that. For this, I just went up to the character panel and I used the color picker, and I picked a color up here somewhere for this color text. So I usually recommend doing that to put your text layers kind of complementing your images. So let's go ahead and make this 3D. How do we do that? Well, we right click on the layer, and we're going to go to New 3D Extrusion from Selected Layer. When we do this, you may get a pop-up that says, would you like to go into the 3D workspace? If you hit yes, that's going to bring you into this. It's going to show you this grid and 3D space where you can move and do all kinds of things with your text. So we're not going to work too much in here, but I want to show you how to position this and show you the tools. So you'll have this window here. This might be in the bottom left. I move it up here so it's a little easier to work with. But you've got these 3 different tools. So you can orbit the 3D camera, you can pan the 3D camera, or you can dolly. And then you've also got these options up at the top, which you can do with your 3D. So if you click and hold on these, you can do something with your text layer. You're just going to click and hold on there. We're going to undo that, and then you can pan to move it around, and then you can dolly, which moves it back and forth. Now, something to keep in mind is when you make the movement on here, you're actually not going to be able to move it when you go back to your layer. So if I go back here, I can't move it. I can't move that text layer. What I do is I go into the 3D workspace and move it here in this 3D workspace. So I have these arrows I can move it with. I can move it up or down. And then notice how there's a shadow here from that text. What that's from is from this light, that if I go to this 3D layer, I can see that there's all these different variables in my 3D layer. And so I have a light. I can change that to change my shadow. I can also change the different types of light and all kinds of different stuff. So I'll probably end up making a course on Photoshop and 3D because it's really neat on things that you can do in here. So let's go back to the layers, and if I click on this, you can see it brings me out of 3D space. If I click on here, it brings me back into 3D space. So I want to go to 3D, and I'm going to select my lighthouse, and I'm going to position this kind of over here, and then I'm going to go to my camera. Now be careful, you can also see that you get this rotate option where we want to do the orbit, and I'm going to orbit this around. And I'm going to try and keep it flat with the water. And you can do that with this grid, so it's kind of aligning with the water and the image. So we're going to use that. We're going to pan around a little bit, and then we're going to dolly to move it back. And then I'm going to show you also how you can do it here. So if you do this, you'll rotate. We don't want to do that. We want to do the orbit. So we're going to move it down a little bit. Let's just move it around. And I want to get these arrows back here so I can move it here. I'm going to move on the x-axis and move it right around here. So we'll pull it forward just a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the extrusion depth from 173. I'm going to take it down a little bit. I don't want it so thick. I'm going to take it to about, let's do like 3750. That looks pretty good. Maybe I'll go up to 50. And then you could just see the changes there. So now when I click onto my layers and click onto Lighthouse, You can see I've got my shadow, so it kind of looks like it's sitting there, but it looks really rough. So if I zoom in here, you can see it looks really rough around the edges, and that's just because it hasn't rendered the layer yet. So if I go to my lighthouse here and I right click, I can do render 3D layer. And what happens is that it goes in the bottom left here and it'll start a rendering process. And you can see it starts scanning the areas and rendering anything that's in 3D. Now, this one took about 4 minutes, almost 5 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click down here, and when I get that little bubble, I'm just going to hit escape to stop that because I don't want it to render since I've already got the other one. So if I go up to File and I'm going to go to Open Recent, and I've got this rendered version, you can see here that if I go to Layers, you can see how much better it looks. So let me zoom in here, and I'm going to go up here. I'm going to finish my render. Now, whenever, let's say we start the render back here, we can go to right click and go to resume render. So I've already done that on here. I thought I hadn't finished it, but apparently I did. So we can see the quality there. So if you want to render it out and use about half of it to be rendered, you can always go back and then resume the layer. Back into it, you'll have to just start again and render it further. But this is what it looks like with the 3D text. So we've got shadow. It kind of looks like it's sitting on the water, and it blends in with our image. So there's so much you can do with this if you're into using 3D layers. It's really cool to be able to get in Photoshop and make things 3D if you're used to working with only 2D. And if you like After Effects, you'll definitely like this feature in Photoshop because you don't even need After Effects to do this. So thanks guys for being here. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe. I'm looking for just showing more and more things to you guys, and it really encourages me when I get more subscribers. So have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.